They called her a thief, a thug, a nobody. Then the radio crackled with her real title. By then, the cuffs were on, and the crowd was screaming. The summer heat clung to Atlanta like a fever, the kind that made tempers flare and mistakes fatal. On Peachtree Street, where glass towers loomed over crumbling sidewalks, a routine call about a suspicious person spiraled into chaos. Officer Daniel Hargrove, a wiry man with a buzz cut and a chip on his shoulder, gripped his radio as he scanned the crowd. His partner, Officer Mike Callahan, heavier and slower, chewed gum with a smirk. They'd been chasing petty crime all day: purse snatchers, loiterers, the usual. But this call felt different. The dispatcher's voice had an edge. Female, black, mid-30s, possibly armed. Across the street, Dr. Amara Ellis stood outside a coffee shop, her phone pressed to her ear. At 34, she was Georgia's youngest chief prosecutor, a title she'd clawed her way to through late nights and unrelenting ambition. Her tailored blazer and sleek bun spoke of boardrooms, not back alleys. She was arguing with a deputy about a case, her voice sharp but controlled, oblivious to the officer's approach. To her, this was just another Tuesday. To them, she was a suspect. "Ma'am, hands where I can see 'em," Hargrove barked, his hand on his holster. Amara froze, her phone slipping slightly. The crowd, shoppers, commuters, kids with backpacks, slowed, sensing trouble. Callahan stepped closer, his gum chewing louder now, almost taunting. "You deaf? Hands up." Amara's eyes narrowed. She lowered her phone slowly, her voice steady. "I'm on a call, officers. What's the problem?" Her calm was a shield, honed from years of navigating rooms where she was the only one who looked like her. But Hargrove wasn't listening. He saw her confidence as defiance, her poise as a threat. "Don't play smart with me," he snapped, yanking her arm. The crowd gasped. A teenager started filming. "Wait, you can't just," Amara began. But Callahan cut her off, twisting her other arm. The cuffs clicked shut, cold and tight. Pain shot through her wrists, but worse was the humiliation. Faces pressed closer, some curious, some outraged, some gleeful. "Thug!" An older man shouted from the back. "Get her off our streets." A woman nearby yelled back, "She didn't do nothing." The air crackled with division. A city split in two. Amara's mind raced. She knew the law better than anyone here. She'd prosecuted cops for less than this. But knowledge was no shield when you were black, female, and cuffed on a public street. "My name is Amara Ellis," she said, her voice loud enough for the crowd. "I'm the chief prosecutor for the state of Georgia." The words hung in the air, a gauntlet thrown. Hargrove scoffed. "Yeah, and I'm the governor." Callahan laughed, shoving her toward the patrol car. The crowd's noise swelled: boos, cheers, arguments. A young girl, no older than 12, tugged at her mother's sleeve. "Mama, isn't that the lady from TV?" Her mother shushed her, eyes wide with fear. The officers didn't check Amara's ID. They didn't call it in. They saw what they wanted to see. A stereotype, not a person. The patrol car's door loomed. Amara's heart pounded, not from fear but rage. She'd spent her life proving she belonged, top of her class at Howard, clerking for a federal judge, dismantling corrupt systems as prosecutor. Now she was just another face to be slammed against a car. "You're making a mistake," she said, her voice low, lethal. Hargrove ignored her, radioing for backup. Callahan leaned in, his breath sour. "Keep talking, sweetheart. Makes no difference." But it did. Across town, in the prosecutor's office, Amara's deputy, Jamal Carter, overheard the radio chatter. His stomach dropped. Peachtree Street? That's where Amara was headed. He grabbed his phone, dialing her number. No answer. He patched into the police frequency, his voice urgent. This is Deputy Prosecutor Carter. You've got Amara Ellis in custody? The chief prosecutor. The radio crackled. Hargrove froze mid-step, his hand on Amara's shoulder. Callahan's gum fell out. The crowd sensed the shift, phones still recording. Say that again? Hargrove muttered into his radio. Jamal's voice boomed back, laced with fury. You're detaining the state's top prosecutor. Release her. Now. Silence. The officers exchanged glances, their bravado crumbling. Amara stood taller, her eyes burning into Hargrove's. Check my ID, she said, her voice ablaze. He hesitated, then reached for her wallet. The crowd leaned in, breathless. He flipped it open, and there it was, her state-issued badge, her title in bold. Chief Prosecutor Amara Ellis. Hargrove's face drained of color. Callahan stammered. We got a call. Amara cut him off. You got prejudice, she said, her voice carrying to the crowd. You saw my skin and decided my story. The words hit like a slap. Some in the crowd cheered. Others looked away, ashamed. The teenager with the phone zoomed in, her video already streaming to thousands. The cuffs came off, but the damage was done. Amara rubbed her wrists, her composure unshaken but her heart heavy. She could have walked away, let her title shield her. But she didn't. She turned to the crowd, her voice rising. This isn't just about me. It's about every black person who's been profiled, harassed, or worse. It's about a system that assumes guilt before innocence. The crowd erupted applause, shouts, arguments. Hargrove and Callahan stood frozen, their authority stripped bare. Backup arrived, but the new officers hesitated, sensing the tide had turned. Amara's eyes met the young girl's from earlier. The girl clutched her mother's hand, her face alight with awe. In that moment, Amara saw why she fought not just for herself, but for every kid who needed to see justice wasn't a myth. But the fight was far from over. As Amara walked away, the crowd parting like a sea, she knew this moment would haunt her. Not the cuffs, not the insults, but the weight of a city off a country still divided by color. She'd won this battle, but the war was relentless, and she was ready. Back at the precinct, Hargrove and Callahan faced their captain, a grizzled veteran named Ruiz. You idiots, he growled, slamming Amara's file on the desk. You profiled the one person who could bury us all. Hargrove shifted uncomfortably. We got a call, sir. She matched the description. Ruiz leaned forward, his voice low. You saw black and stopped thinking. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. Across town, Amara sat in her office, the city's skyline dark outside her window. Jamal burst in, his face a mix of relief and rage. You okay? I swear. I'll have those cops. She raised a hand, silencing him. Not yet, she said. This isn't about them. It's bigger. She turned to her computer, pulling up case files, hundreds of arrests, many like hers, but without her title to save them. We start here, she said, her voice steel. We change the system. The next morning, Amara's arrest was national news. The teenager's video had gone viral, sparking protests and think pieces. Justice for Amara trended, but so did Back the Blue. The city split further, lines drawn in comment sections and picket lines. Amara didn't watch the coverage. She was already working, meeting with activists, drafting reforms, and preparing to face the officers in court not as a victim, but as a prosecutor. Hargrove, meanwhile, couldn't shake the image of Amara's badge. He'd grown up in a small town where law and order meant keeping certain people in line. Atlanta was different, but he'd carried those lessons with him. Now they felt like lies. He sat in his patrol car, staring at the wooden bench where the crowd had gathered. Someone had scrawled on it in chalk, "Justice or just us?" He didn't know the answer. Amara's case became a flashpoint. Activists demanded accountability. Police unions doubled down. In court, Hargrove and Callahan claimed they'd followed protocol. But Amara's testimony, calm, precise, devastating, laid bare their bias. The judge, a black woman herself, didn't mince words. "This isn't just misconduct," she said. "It's a betrayal of trust." The officers were suspended, their careers in limbo. But Amara wasn't satisfied. Suspensions didn't fix a broken system. She pushed for mandatory bias training, body cams, and stricter oversight. She met with community leaders, listening to stories of profiling that mirrored her own. Each one fueled her resolve. "Change isn't a moment," she told a packed town hall. "It's a movement." The young girl from the crowd, named Kyla, wrote Amara a letter. "I want to be like you," it read. "I want to make things fair." Amara framed it, a reminder of why she kept going. But late at night, alone in her office, she wondered if fairness was possible in a world so quick to judge. Hargrove, too, was changing. He enrolled in a community program, sitting awkwardly among activists who eyed him with suspicion. He listened, for the first time, to stories like Amara's. It didn't erase his mistakes, but it cracked open his worldview. One night, he found himself back at that bench, staring at the chalked words. He picked up a piece of chalk and added, "I'm trying." Amara's reforms gained traction, but resistance was fierce. Some cops called her a traitor, others, a hero. The city's fault lines deepened, but so did its conversations. People really talked about race, power, and what justice meant. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. On the anniversary of her arrest, Amara stood at that same Peachtree Street corner, now marked by a mural of her face, painted by local artists. The wooden bench still bore its message, now carved permanently, "Justice or just us?" Kyla stood beside her, holding a sign that read, "We are the change." The crowd was smaller than that chaotic day, but their voices were louder, united. Amara looked out, her heart full but heavy. She'd learned that justice wasn't a destination, but a fight, messy, painful, eternal. And she'd fight it, not just for herself, but for Kyla, for the crowd, for a city that could be better. The cuffs were gone, but the scars remained. So did her resolve. The mural on Peachtree Street became a pilgrimage site. Some came to honor Amara Ellis, others to deface her image with slurs. Atlanta's pulse beat unevenly, its people caught between hope and hostility. Amara, now a symbol, carried the weight of both. Her days grew longer, her office a fortress of case files and reform proposals. She met with mayors, senators, even the governor, who offered photo ops she politely declined. "I'm not here for optics," she told Jamal, her deputy, as they sifted through data on police stops. "I'm here for results." Results, though, were slippery. Her bias training program rolled out to mixed reviews. Some officers embraced it, like Officer Sarah Lynn, a rookie who'd watched Amara's viral video with unease. "I don't want to be that cop," Lynn told her sergeant, signing up for extra sessions. Others, like Callahan's old partner, Officer Pete Grayson, scoffed. "It's just paperwork," Grayson muttered, tossing the training manual aside. "Doesn't change the streets." Amara knew he wasn't entirely wrong. The streets had their own rules, carved by decades of distrust. Hargrove, meanwhile, was unraveling. His suspension hit hard. His wife left. His kids barely spoke to him. He'd always seen himself as the good guy, the one keeping chaos at bay. Now he was the villain in a million retweets. The community program he joined forced him to face truths he'd dodged for years. One night, a Speak-era black man named Marcus, whose brother had died in a police shooting, looked Hargrove in the eye. "You don't get to apologize and move on," Marcus said. "You live with it, like we do." Hargrove didn't sleep that night. He kept seeing Amara's face, her badge, her unyielding stare. Amara's own scars ran deeper than she let on. She'd always been the strong one, first in her family to go to college, first to break into law's old boys club. But the arrest had cracked something in her. She woke up sweating, dreaming of cuffs and crowds. Therapy helped, but only so much. "You can't fix a wound you keep picking at," her therapist said. The wound was Atlanta itself, a city of contradictions, progressive yet prejudiced, vibrant yet volatile. Kyla, the girl from the crowd, became a bright spot. She visited Amara's office after school, her backpack stuffed with books on law. "I'm gonna be a prosecutor too," Kyla declared, her gap-toothed grin infectious. Amara saw herself in Kyla's hunger, her refusal to shrink. She started mentoring her, teaching her how to read case law, how to stand tall in a world that wanted her small. "You're not just fighting for you," Amara told her one day, pointing to a photo of the Peachtree mural. "You're fighting for them." The mural, though, was a lightning rod. Vandals hit it, weekly paint cans, knives, even a Molotov cocktail that fizzled out. Each attack made headlines, fueling talk shows and X threads. Protect the mural clashed with Blue Lives Matter, a digital war Amara avoided. She didn't have time for hashtags. She was too busy pushing for body cams, a battle she won after months of lobbying. The cams rolled out citywide, capturing every stop, every shout, every mistake. Complaints dropped slightly, but so did police morale. "You're tying our hands," Grayson told a reporter. Amara fired back in a press conference. "I'm tying you to accountability." Accountability came for Hargrove in court. His disciplinary hearing was public, a spectacle of lawyers and cameras. Amara testified, her voice steady but her hands trembling under the table. "Officer Hargrove didn't just arrest me," she said. "He arrested an idea that a black woman could be more than his assumptions." The room was silent, save for the scratch of reporters' pens. Hargrove, in a cheap suit, stared at the floor. He didn't contest the charges. His badge was revoked, his career over. As he left the courthouse, a protester spat at him. He didn't flinch. Callahan's hearing was Messier. He fought the charges, claiming he'd followed protocol. His lawyer painted Amara as aggressive, a word that made Jamal slam his fist on the table when he heard it. Amara stayed calm, dismantling Callahan's defense with precision. She presented the video, now viewed 20 million times, pausing at the moment he'd shoved her. "This isn't protocol," she said. "This is power." Callahan was fired, but not before his supporters rallied outside, waving signs. "Cops aren't criminals." Amara walked past them, head high, Kyla's letter in her pocket like armor. The city's divide widened. Protests flared, some peaceful, some not. A riot broke out downtown, shattering storefronts and Amara's hope for quick change. She met with activists urging calm, but they were tired. "You're one of us?" a young man named Dre told her, his voice raw. "But you're in their system. How's that working out?" Amara had no easy answer. She went home that night and cried, the first time in years. The system wasn't just broken, it was built this way. Hargrove, jobless and adrift, started volunteering at a youth center. It was Marcus's idea, a way to live with it. He coached basketball, taught kids to de-escalate fights. They called him Officer Dan at first, then just Dan. One boy, Jamal's nephew, asked him point blank, "You the cop who arrested that prosecutor lady?" Hargrove nodded, bracing for anger. The boy shrugged. You seem all right now. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was something. Hargrove clung to it. Amara's reforms gained national attention. Other cities called, asking for her playbook. She traveled to Chicago, D.C., Seattle, speaking to packed rooms about bias, trust, and the long road to justice. Her message was simple. Change starts when we see each other as human. Sounded naive, but she believed it. She had to. Kyla was watching, and so were millions of others. Her TED Talk went viral, but so did the death threats. She hired security, a grim necessity. Back in Atlanta, the Peachtree mural was restored after its latest vandalism. Kyla helped paint it, her small hands steady on the brush. The crowd that gathered wasn't just black or white, young or old. It was Atlanta, messy and mixed. Amara spoke at the unveiling, her voice carrying over the hum of traffic. This mural isn't about me, she said. It's about us, what we choose to see in each other. The crowd cheered, but a few hecklers booed. Amara didn't flinch. She'd learned to live with both. Hargrove showed up, standing at the back. He hadn't seen Amara since the hearing. She spotted him, their eyes locking for a moment. She didn't smile, but she nodded. He nodded back. It wasn't reconciliation, but it was progress. He left before the speeches ended, walking past the wooden bench. The carved words "justice" or "just us" were faded but still there. He traced them with his finger, then kept walking. Amara's work didn't stop. She launched a task force to review old arrests, freeing dozens wrongfully convicted. She partnered with schools, training teachers to spot bias in discipline. Kyla shadowed her, soaking up every lesson. "You're gonna be better than me," Amara told her one day, half joking. Kyla shook her head. "I'm gonna fight with you." Amara's throat tightened. She hugged her, fierce and quick. The city changed, slowly. Body cams caught fewer abuses, but not zero. Bias training reshaped some minds, but not all. Protests still flared, but so did dialogues, town halls, church meetings, even barbershop debates. Amara was at every one, listening more than speaking. She learned from Dre, from Marcus, from kids like Kyla. Justice, she realized, wasn't a verdict. It was a conversation, endless and imperfect. Hargrove found a new path. He trained as a mediator, helping resolve community disputes. Paid less than policing, but it felt honest. He met Amara at a town hall, both there to discuss reform. They didn't speak, but their presence in the same room felt like a truce. Marcus, now a friend, told him, "You're not fixed, man, but you're trying." Hargrove nodded. Trying was all he had. On the second anniversary of her arrest, Amara stood at Peachtree Street again, the mural glowing under new lights. Kyla was beside her, now a high school freshman with a scholarship Amara had secured. The crowd was diverse: cops, activists, families, even a few ex-cons Amara had prosecuted. The wooden bench, now a city landmark, bore fresh flowers and notes. One read, "Thank you for seeing us." Amara's speech was short. 2 years ago, I was cuffed here," she said. "Today, we're standing here together. That's not justice, not yet. Justice is when no one's surprised a black woman like me is chief prosecutor. When no kid fears a badge. When we see each other as human." She paused, her eyes finding Kyla's. "We're not there, but we're closer. Keep fighting." The crowd roared, a sound of grit and hope and resolve. As she stepped down, Amara looked at the mural, her face, her eyes, her defiance. It wasn't just her anymore. It was Kyla's future, Hargrove's redemption, Atlanta's soul. The city would stumble as it always had, but it would rise too, because of people who chose to look, to listen, to change. What do you see in this story? Justice, fault, or something else? Share your thoughts on what's right, what's wrong, or where community finds its breaking point.